host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today we're meeting Jaimye to hear her story of addiction and recovery and a life that has turned toward a hopeful future. It's a dramatic story that can make you wonder about the power of resilience. Jaimye says that recovery doesn't mean life will go back to the way things were before addiction, but that's okay. Let's meet Jaimye, hear her story, and find out about her work as a peer recovery coach. Jaimye, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks for having me. My name is Jaimye, and I'm a peer recovery coach, but I wasn't always. I came from a pretty broken home. Addiction runs rampant through my family. The first time I remember being homeless, I was still a toddler. My parents did drugs. We were in and out of foster homes, my sister and I. I had a really abusive stepfather and my mom who couldn't get sober or stay sober. And so I was left with friends where I was sexually abused and later placed in foster care where my dad, my biological father, finally got custody of me.
Now, how
Now,
young were you when some of these events that you're talking about happened?
now these were between the ages of 3 and 9.
Wow.
So, and I remember very vividly being in the backseat of the car with my sister, and my stepdad and my mom were in the front seat. And all of a sudden, glass was just all over my sister and I. And looking back on it now, I realized the back window of the car had been shot out. So we were in a drug deal gone wrong when I was 4 years old. So when my dad got my biological father got custody of me, I was approximately 10. He was about 50 years old. He was a single father, a drinker, and truck driver, and he had no idea how to deal with three traumatic children. So when my sister started acting out, he sent her away where she became a ward of the state until she was 18. I stayed. I started acting out right around the same age she did when I was a teenager. I was drinking with my friends, doing pills with my friends. But, when they were going on about their schoolwork, the only thing I could think about was, wow, I want to do that again. That was fun. Like, I can't concentrate on anything else. I didn't know at the time that the wiring in my brain had already been changed due to the trauma in my childhood. The predisposition for a substance use disorder was already there. Had someone talked to me about this, or had anyone had any knowledge of this beforehand, would my life have been different? Maybe. But I was an addict already and I didn't even know.
And
So
what
I
age was
had
this? What age did you realize you were an addict?
Actually, when I finally got clean and sober when I was 25 or 27.
But these
So,
times when you were talking about hanging around with your friends and talking about school, how old were you then?
14, 15, 16, had no idea. All I could think about was having fun. This is fun. This is normal. But it wasn't fun and it was not definitely normal.
Now, did you think about, did you get, let's talk about the mental health side. When you're that age and you're already involved with a culture that's getting high, did you feel some stresses about life, security, what you would do with your life, making money? Is that something a teenager thinks about when they're doing what you were doing, or were those things just like the farthest thing from your mind?
I don't think that I even thought about those things. I didn't have really good, stable parental support in my life that really taught me any basic life skills. I had been in and out of the foster system, and I had been with, my dad did the best he could with what he had, but I really didn't have much to go off of.
That's a challenging thing to look back on. You came to this period between like being a teenager, and then I asked you about when you really knew you were an addict, and you were 25. That's like 10 years of your life. What are some of your biggest memories of those 10 years?
So I had done Adderall I had actually been prescribed Ritalin when I was younger for ADHD, but I tried meth for the first time when my dad passed away in 2014. One time was all it took. I was hooked. I was doing everything and anything I could to get high. I was scamming. I was stealing. Um, I was trading off things I owned. I would sell things that I owned. I didn't have a job for a couple years because I was meeting dealers and giving them rides to who knows where so I could get a free high. Um, I got in a lot of legal trouble. I ended up getting in a high speed chase. Um, I hit a deer going 110 mile an hour, and I ended up stealing a car as well. So,
Well, we're going to get back into that. We're going to take a short break and then continue our conversation with Jaimye. And really, it's quite a dramatic story. There's little pieces of it coming out that are almost shocking. We'll see you all after the break. You don't want to miss this.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzz and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
While a lot is changing in our world, at MediaCom, our focus remains the same, making sure you have the fastest, most reliable connection possible. During this critical time, we know your needs are changing. You may be working or learning from home, relying on telemedicine, or finding new ways to keep everyone entertained. If you need more speed, call or go online, and MediaCom will double your speed immediately for as low as $10 more a month for 1 year.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're talking with peer recovery coach Jaimye and the story of her life that makes her uniquely qualified to be an expert on recovery and resilience. So, Jaimye, you've gone through this phase of let's call it partying, for lack of a better word, but something happened. I mean, something led to an intervention that turned things around and got you on this path. Tell us about that.
so I remember the last time I ever got arrested. It was for stealing a vehicle. It was mostly just to get me from point A to point B, and I planned on relieving myself of said vehicle, but I didn't. And I was arrested in front of my daughter. And I just remember the look of pure horror and confusion on her face as she stood there bawling. And there was nothing I could do about it. And once I was sitting in jail, there was nothing I could do. I couldn't reach out to her. I didn't know where she was. And of course, at that time, DHS had stepped in and said, hey, we're stepping in, we're removing your kids. We don't know how long you're sitting in jail. I was facing 10 years in prison at that time. And while it was a forced sobriety, it was forced detox sitting in jail. And I knew that I was detoxing, but something else was wrong with my body. And I wasn't sure what it was. So I did end up being bonded out finally. And I found out I was pregnant. So I'm sitting here, homeless, sober, pregnant, and kidless. And I had to do something. The only thing I wanted was to see my children. So I buckled down. I moved to Ottumwa, where I didn't know anybody. I got any job that would hire a felon fresh out of county jail. And I put myself through treatment, family treatment court. I had my baby in March of 2018. She was clean, healthy, and I did end up fighting for my children and winning my children back. So now I have them, and we are a big, happy family, and it's all good. I think that was my downfall. I don't think that my rock bottom, not my downfall. I don't think that jail is rock bottom for everybody. I don't think that getting clean for your kids works for everybody. Everyone's pathway is going to be unique, but for me, that's what it was. I had burned every bridge, so I had nobody to rely on, and I really just had to come to that pivotal moment of, is this how I want to continue to live my life, or do I want to break the cycle for my children?
Now, from the time that you found yourself in that spot to the time that you were able to say that you were clean, how long did that take?
You know, every day I get more clear-minded. They say for every year of continued use, it takes a year of continued sobriety to get more clear-minded. I'm coming up on 5 years sober, so every day is a new day of clarity for me.
That's a pretty cool thing. Now let's step back just to take another snapshot, not to keep taking you back there, but so you had this 10 years of really being disconnected from yourself and the positive things in your life, or the positive potentials that you're exercising now. In all the people that you met, was it just everybody going down the drain, or were there people that would sort of drift in and out? Did you see people recover around you, or do those people become invisible once they leave that world that you're living in?
There are several people actually that have made it into recovery with me on their own, and there are some that are still in active addiction, and there's some that didn't make it out alive. So I've seen it all ways, and it's really hard, and that's why I'm here telling my story today. That's why I think it's truly important.
And then from that step, how did you get to the position in life now as a peer? What brought you that full circle sort of movement?
Honestly, this was a very great opportunity that just fell into my lap as I was telemarketing one day. During COVID even, I was working as a parent partner, and that's more geared towards DHS cases and helping parents. And I seen that CETA was hiring for a recovery coach. And really the only requirement was 2 years lived experience. And I was like, that's me. I'm that person. And I got here and I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I've just taken off. As soon as I got here, I've just taken off. The opportunities have just been endless for me, and it's really opened doors. I'm just so thankful.
Well, and I bet it makes a difference to people struggling in recovery to know that you've been down that path.
And it is so shocking sometimes. I tell people like, meth is your drug of choice. That was my drug of choice too. And they're like, no way. And I'm like, let me show you my mugshot.
Let's take a short break. And when we come back, we'll ask Jaimye to talk more about the ties that sort of bind mental health, physical health, and substance use disorder. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here.
Wait. What?
I can't drive.
Why? I'm high. Oh.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening, our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and we're talking with Jaimye about her life and how the lessons she's learned can help others. Life's challenges can stress physical and mental health no matter how tough you think you are. Now Jaimye's role is really to help people. And Jaimye, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you do it.
So My role as a recovery coach, I have people self-refer. I also collaborate with law centers, hospitals, mental health clinics. I've even presented at the probation office here and our DHS office. And I kind of just work alongside people who are actively fresh in recovery or sometimes even still actively using, but thinking about recovery. And I meet them where they're at. I assess their needs. If they need help finding housing, I see what that looks like. I help them with that. Really anything in regards with resources, I'm on top of it. So meeting them where they're at and getting them those linkages to care so that they're ready for treatment when they're ready for treatment. And what's so important about a recovery coach is that I've been there too. So I can meet you where you're at. And I'm not going to push you. I'm not going to pull you. I'm going to walk alongside you on this pathway to recovery that is going to be unique to you.
Is there a little bit, I'll use a bizarre term, but is there a little bit of a flashback sometimes as you're listening to people and they tell their story and then you start remembering? I mean, that's got to be sort of a tough situation to be in.
Sometimes it is. And sometimes it is, I don't want to say frustrating, but frustrating. Especially because I don't want to be like, come on. I have to put myself back in that place mentally and be like, okay, that's the mindset that we're in. I have to just remember to meet him where he's at, meet her where she's at, and go from there. And sometimes I do a lot of self-care to keep my balance. So,
and recovery for people, it's a constant sort of effort of self-care, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
We see a lot of threats to recovery, things like vaping and for cigarettes and all of this advertising around alcohol and now CBD and marijuana and opioids. I mean, there's this, if you really want to walk through the world, it's like until you've dealt with probably recovery, you don't realize all of these threats out there coming at you every day with these sort of, the urges to get back into that life. It's as if somebody's trying to sell that all the time. How does it feel when you're on the other side, helping people that are really, I mean, it's an uphill battle for them. What do you do to open up some doors so they feel like there's some hope and optimism?
Well, community support is always a big thing, making sure that their support systems are strong, because if you don't have support, the likeliness of success goes way down. And that's kind of where a recovery coach comes into. It's that additional support, someone who's going to understand and be empathetic and also can advocate for you.
You grew up without a lot of benefits of a supportive family. And then when you had a little bit of support, well, then when your dad passed away, that was sort of a trigger for you that really sent you down a tough road. And grief can do that. From the people that you work with in general, do you feel that, do they have family support available to them, or are most of them in a similar situation where they just don't have that natural support system around them?
Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Addicts have a tendency to burn bridges. It's what we do. We don't mean to. It's just that need to get high. We do have a large recovery community in Ottumwa. We host several recovery related events. So there's always some support out there for people. There are several people with family support though as well.
So if somebody needs to build a new support system and you're not dealing with recovery, I mean, for somebody not even in recovery, meeting new people and making new connections is hard without having the burden of having to recover from that challenge. What are some of the things that you do to bring people sort of out of their shells and get them out there to connect with a healthy support system?
Meetings are always a great place to start. Groups with treatment are always a great place to start. And then treatment itself is also a great place to start. And then I always preach therapy, because mental health is so prominent with people with substance use disorders. And honestly, I believe everyone should have a therapist. So it can't hurt.
Now, are most people dealing with recovery sort of introverted about dealing with the world, or maybe a little bit fearful of the world because of stigma? Or
Always.
are there extroverts? I don't know.
In their own community, they can be extroverted. When it comes to speaking out loud about their problem or their disease, I would say introverted. Now, within the walls of our office, they can speak freely about whatever they need to. Now, when they're out in public, maybe on their jobs or within their families, maybe they can't speak freely about those things. That's the stigma behind it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to ask Jaimye to share some final comments, insights, and advice that may help you. You don't want to miss this. We'll see you all after the break.
Today, more than ever, you need fast, reliable internet. At MediaCom, we want you to know you can count on us. Our fiber-powered 100% gigabit technology network was built for the future. We have enormous capacity and power and 99.99% network reliability. So even though these are uncertain times, we're prepared. And you can be certain we'll keep your world connected.
Whether it's advice on managing your anxiety or tools to help you stay grounded, Coping-19 provides a range of resources and self-care tips to help you cope with this pandemic. We can help. Find the resources that work best for you at coping-19.org.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening, our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back. Today on Surviving Bad, we're talking about the power of resilience in the face of challenges that can cripple even the strongest of people's chances to be healthy and happy. Now, Jaimye has put her life out there for us and others in her work as a peer recovery coach. Let's hear what final comments she has to share with us. Jaimye, the TV screen is yours. Share stuff with people that you think is really important.
The most important thing I'm going to have to say is definitely recover out loud. If you're in recovery, tell your story. There is so much importance in speaking your truth. You could save someone's life. There is help out there. If you are still actively using, seek the help. It is out there. People are not going to judge you. Treatment is safe. There are funds and grants available to assist you along the way. There's recovery coaches that can help support you as well. There's just so much available for you guys that not even beyond your reach. All you have to do is make one phone call. Just keep telling your stories and reach out and get the help you deserve. You deserve to be healthy. You deserve to be healthy. Did I say that? You deserve to be healthy and happy and clean and sober.
Well, it's important that you repeated it because those are important things. Now let's ask sort of a contemplative question. Early in life, God, there's really not much you could have done for all the crazy that was in your life. But about the time you became a teen, what if I could send you back in time? I mean, I'm not saying you'd change your life in any way because you're in a good place right now. But if I sent you back to somebody just like you and they were sitting around at 14, 15 years of age and you could talk to them, what would you share with them?
My education about generational trauma and healing and predisposition. Because I feel like if someone had known about my trauma and dealt with it accordingly, my life could have turned out completely different. I'm glad I am where I'm at. I just want to say that though.
Now, it seems like there's a much bigger community out there of people willing to help and listen, but stigma is still a big thing. People breaking out of it. And you say it's as easy as one phone call. And yeah, you're right, but sometimes making that one phone call is like jumping off a cliff. You know, I mean, it's like into a pool of water that looks really, really far away. Where would they call? Where would they reach out first?
If you are afraid to make a phone call, there's a lot of free online resources. You could just Google it, substance use, NA meetings, telehealth counseling, really anything you're searching for since COVID, there's going to be a free online resource for that.
Now, are most people working in those resources people that have had experience?
I haven't used any of those resources personally, but I do know that people with lived experience have been implemented almost everywhere now.
That's a pretty cool thing. When you go home now and you think about the blessings before you, what are some of the little things you look back and say, boy, I'm so happy that happened, because that really had such a huge difference and made a huge difference in my life looking back?
Everything had a huge impact, because everything that happened to me led me to exactly to where I am today. And if it didn't happen exactly that way, I wouldn't have the knowledge and the resources to break that cycle with my own children, to be where I'm at, to help others, and just to be where I'm at and healthy myself.
Is there a day you can remember waking up and knowing that the tide had shifted and just sort of feeling the joy and the happiness for the first time?
When I bought my first house.
So that was a symbol of your success. You had stabilized yourself.
Yep.
Wow. And you'd probably never, even when you were growing up.
It was the first house that I ever had with a garage, and that was just tremendous for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I can park my car in here.
Wow, the joys of just living life are just oozing from you. That is so fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you for the work you do as a peer recovery coach. We really love it. And thank you all for joining us today. Check out our website, ahealthyiowa.org, and keep your eye on MediaCom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. On MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.